You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored.
Well, hello there, Mr. Wall. How goes the battle? Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we've got some legislators out here working on some issues concerning violent criminals. And so we are definitely in your corner on that. Of course, not all violent offenders deserve to be locked away in prison for the rest of their life. Some of them, yeah. But there's a lot of them out there that are really trying hard and doing the very best they can to help people and get their lives back in order and never return to prison. I know, and yeah. But see, you have an unusual situation. You're constantly fighting. You're always filing lawsuits and filing complaints and talking to the press. You keep yourself out there in the public. No, I am not complaining. I like that. But of course, the Department of Corrections isn't going to take that too lightly, and they're just going to be doing stuff like that. It's just that, in America, it's got to be expected. We're not just going to sit there and let people walk all over us. And you're a prime example of that. So I am very happy that you're in our corner. Well, yeah, I do have a group of violent offenders who made some videos, and they just want the world to see that they're not as bad as a lot of people make them out to be. You look at a violent offender like Jeffrey Dahmer, and you immediately think all violent offenders are like him. And he's one of those that just was a very good chance that he would get out and commit the crime again. It's just that, yeah, that's right. Well, it is true. Yes, I do agree with you that we don't really know the future. And we can condemn people wrongly, and we can condemn people correctly, or we could let people out wrongly, or we could let people out correctly. Maybe you should have a special board that determines whether or not a person should be released. I don't know why it is that if a plumber has 15 years experience, that he could go into a classroom and share his knowledge with other people. But society doesn't want to accept a convicted person who has been in prison for 15 years to come out and make a decision on whether or not a person should be taken out of prison. Who would better know if a person is telling the truth, if a person is more likely to reoffend, if a person is taking advantage of all the opportunities to get a better life? Who would be better qualified than someone who's been there? You've got these people that are sitting on the parole board looking out at these guys, and they looking at paperwork, but they don't always get it right. So I think, if they don't want them to be on the board or the committee or make that part of the decision,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
they should at least consult them. Let's get a few people to say something. I would say prosecutors, would have a good chance of that. We're doing the parole board. Let's get ex-convict this person. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be some kind of change, and we got to work towards something. But that's just my 2 cents. Yes, good. Keep up the good work. We've got your back. And let your friends know that there are some videos.
You have 30 seconds remaining
on my YouTube channel of people speaking in your defense. Yes, just have them look up Joel Wilborn on YouTube and subscribe. Yes, that would be good. Yes, let's the strength in numbers. I'm all for that. Okay, yep. Have yourself a great day. And thanks for the call. Oh, yes, yeah. You're welcome. I will talk to you later. Goodbye. Okay, there you have it, Mr. Jeffery Wall, who has been a big advocate on reducing long prison sentences. He's been fighting it for quite a while. He was a big gangster, has a lot of conflict with the staff members and government officials. He's keeping his name out there. And he's one that's willing to stand up and fight. There are not a lot of people who are in prison right now who want to speak out. There's some terrible things going on in there. There's some good things going on in there. It's just that hearing about it is very rare. So when you do hear somebody describe their experiences in prison, just remember they're one of the few that will actually tell you. Some really want to get it behind them that they don't even want to talk about it anymore. And others will be happy to talk about it if prompted. And you can't really blame them because we look down on people like that. You make this mistake, you go to prison, you get out. We cannot forgive you out here. This is a lifelong burden to carry. And so I don't really see how that's supposed to deter criminals. If a person goes out and commits a crime, I don't think they're planning on going to prison and then being chastised for the rest of their life. And a career criminal, let's face it, nothing you say or do is going to change it. They get out, they know they're treated bad, they commit a crime, they go in, and then they're hanging out with their friends and they know the routine. So it's just one of those things where we got to do something different. We've got to make a change. Crime right now in the United States is on the rise. And is it because we have fewer prisons? Not enough places to lock them up? What's causing it? My guess is a lot of these crimes come about because of frustration, because of their background, their living situation. I know one of my friends went back to jail, and I was really rooting for her. She was doing well, but she just kind of got caught up in the hubbub. And she was saying that she got frustrated with working in jobs. There was some that just didn't quite work out for her. And she's a very hyper person. She likes to do a lot of activity, 2 or 3 jobs. I know we hear about single mothers working a few jobs to pay the bills. Well, this friend of mine, she could do that without a problem, whether she had a family or not. And she was saying that she got frustrated in the working world, making an honest living. And she said she felt comfort in the drug money. She knew how to get it. She knew the best way to sell it, to buy it. And here's what's so odd about that. She was out making a drug deal, and the person wanted the money and the drugs and shot her. She almost died. And she figured, I lived through that, and there must be a reason for that. Well, I know for one, it wasn't to go back to prison, and it wasn't to continue drug activity. Yet, even after that, getting caught, going to prison, getting shot, and then she's still doing it. And I would just have to probe her mind even more to find out what would cause a person to take such a high risk. Is it that thrill? It's like bungee jumping. You stand on the edge and jump off, and then you don't die. And there's no parachute or anything, or no cushion below. Something that would guarantee that you'll survive. There's no guarantee on that. They just like the risk. Yet, if you know that you could get a good payoff and get a good place to stay, a nice car, food to eat, it's like making an honest living. You get up, you go to work, you come home, and you spend your money. Well, if that world doesn't quite treat you well, what do? So I do feel sorry for a person who has to live that kind of life. And I hope we can all work with her and others that are in similar situations, and so we can take a stance on this and try to keep people from going to prison in the first place. When the people I work with, we'd already identified them as somebody who's committed a crime, and then they've served their time and got out. Just think if it's possible to prevent a person from going to prison in the first place. Imagine if you have a child that you're very proud of, but it's getting kind of mistreated in school, and getting frustrated, and you're suspecting that this child of yours is going to slip into the abyss. Well, what if your child came home and told you that a former inmate came to class to talk? How upset would you be about that? How dare they bring in somebody who'd been in prison, somebody who committed a crime? How dare they do that and put our kids at risk? Would you say that? Or would you be curious to learn what your child got out of that presentation? I know in the YouTube videos I do, early on I was asking what advice they would give to high schoolers. And, like I said in the call, we're more likely to pay attention to those who've been there. And, if you have a person who's known for fighting the injustices of the world and gets out and goes into a school and says, yeah, you probably saw me on TV or read an article about me, and I ran with gang members and I did not care about how I treated people or what I took, and I wouldn't have fallen into that if I hadn't have been in the foster care system, or if my dad hadn't have been locked up in prison for life, or if my mother hadn't have been beat up by her boyfriend. Hearing that will open up things, because some of the kids will relate to that and say, yeah, that's what's going on with me. And the thing that will trigger them will be, what do you do to prevent sliding into crime? Is there anybody you could talk to? Is there any resources available to you? And some of the folks that I talk to that have been to prison and get out, and they mentor and instruct others folks, they'll talk about the resources that are available, or the resources that are available now that they wish they had growing up. And the more you talk to them, the more questions you ask, the easier it is to find out that these folks really do know what it would take to avoid the life of crime. And that's what we're all driving toward. We don't want to lock all the criminals up. We don't want to kill all the career criminals. We just want to make crime drop year by year instead of grow. And working with the people, getting to understand what's going through their mind, it will work. It's been working in other countries. It can work here. We just have to keep an open mind about it, and we have to get together and we have to discuss it. Figure out the best way to fight this. And it's just going to take a lot of talking and a lot of research. And most importantly, it's going to have to involve the people who've been there. And we need to spread the word. So I'm hoping that you care enough about your community that you'll get involved. And instead of chasing down the criminals and doing the vigilante thing like a lot of people want to do, that you support the neighborhood community centers, the youth groups, community leaders, your legislators who want to make changes in the law or improve assistance. Don't ignore these things. Our money would be better spent preventing crime than putting a Band-Aid on it or locking people up. It's almost like one of those dumb moments, I think. Let's try to do something. Let's try to work together and figure this out. I want to thank you for your time, for tuning in. Hopefully you'll get out there and send a JPay message to somebody. Just probe them. Ask them questions. A lot of the people sitting in prison want to tell you what's going on. Ask, why are you there? What could we have done to help you prevent that? You'd be surprised at some of the things you learn and that you can share with other people. But we got to talk, we got to open the dialogue, and we got to get the information out there. So go out, have yourself a wonderful day, and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.